Hi there, this is Dr. Everybody with Project 5. Project 5 is a really nice example of one of the problem-solving techniques that, that we try to emphasize. And somebody once said that inside of every complex problem is an easy problem trying to get out. And so in this problem, this project, it really boils down to extracting pairs of numbers. You're going to use those pairs to find simple differences, but the challenge is to read the file in and successively access pairs of numbers out of each line in the file. So we get it down to let's focus on one line of the file, and let's grab the numbers out of that line, and then how do I extract pairs of numbers? and once I can do that, everything else falls into place. So that's what I'm going to focus on today with this project. I'm going to start to give you a little bit of an overview. This is a nice project where, yeah, you ought to start working your way through it with pencil and paper to see that what we're doing in this project is mathematically and just even conceptually easy. And if you until you get to that point, as a starting point, then you haven't understood this problem. Right? So the overall task that we have to do, yeah, you could knock it off with pencil and paper in half an hour. It's not that hard a problem to solve, but it's kind of tricky to do it in an automated way with a program. And then, once we get a handle on that, then it's like, okay, what's the essence of this? And the essence of it is grabbing pairs of numbers. Once you can grab those pairs of numbers, the rest of it falls into place. It's just like doing some simple arithmetic with those numbers, and then we have to find like maximums, which are just like what you did in lab 5, I think it was. So you already know how to do that. You can just yank the stuff out of the lab. So it's formatting it into the output and so on. All those things that you've done before. The challenge is getting those pairs of numbers. All right, so let's take a look at this. Now, as part of this, we have a text file, and in this text file, we everything is aligned by columns, and somewhere, yeah, there it is. So like the name is 15 characters that the name is in, and then we're followed by 7 fields. Each is 6 characters. So each of these is 6 characters wide. So now, and we'll read the file this way. And note that in the specifications for this project, we don't let you use lists. Okay, and if you use lists, that gives you a huge advantage, and we're not going to give you any credit for the project. So that's the next project you'll do. You'll find out after doing this project the beauty of lists. But we don't have lists to work with at this point. So each one of these is 6 wide. And we're going to take advantage of that. And so it says there are 7 of those. Each one is 6 characters wide, and the beginning is the name, which is 15. And we're going to take advantage of that. And so what this project does is it looks at pairs of numbers, like it looks at that first pair of numbers, and it says I'm going to take that pair and I'm going to see how big an increase did I have. And I'm going to do that simple calculation. Then I'm going to grab the next pair of numbers, no, let's try a different color. There we go. I'm going to grab the next pair of numbers, this pair, and I'm going to do the exact same calculation. And then I go and grab the next pair, and I do the same thing. And I work my way through this line, doing this, finding the pair of numbers and doing this simple calculation. And then once I've done those, I find the max. And you've already done max. You did that as part of the lab. So that's not new how you do that. You grab a small one, you see what I've got a bigger one, and so on. What I want to emphasize here is we're doing this one line at a time, just like you did in that lab that you're finding the maxes in. But the challenge is that I have to grab successive pairs of numbers, and for example, you see that what makes this challenging is that we had 107 on the left side here, and then it was on the right side in the denominator here, and then the 111 was on the left side, and then it's on the right side. So I've got to, so the trick here, grab pairs of numbers out of each line, and then I get a max, and then I have to find the max out of all of them. So again, you should work this out with pencil and paper and make sure you understand what's going on. So what I want to focus on is, let's take one line, and I just want to print out this, print out the pairs of numbers. Print out the 106 and 107. Print out the 107 and 111. Print out the 111 and 133. Print out those as pairs. All right. So the tricky part is that it's not simply to go through and just print the numbers out, but to print the pairs of numbers out. That's the essence of this. And once I can do that, everything else falls into place. If we look down at the final output, that sort of our goal here is you see that for each continent, I find the so this is the max change, all right, and so for Africa, the biggest change came between 1950 and 2000, and it was a 247% change. All right, so that's all out of just one line. All right, so I get all the deltas, I figure out which one's the biggest one, and I got to keep track of which years. Okay, got to keep track of where I got that biggest one from, and then when I'm all done, at the same time, I need to go through and figure out which of these is the biggest, which happens to be the 271, and so that information comes down here. So, but again, once I've got this, finding the maximum is not that hard. The essence of it is to get pairs, to get those deltas, and there is a little bit of a, I do have to keep track of the years too, but that's actually a very similar process. So I'm going to focus on taking one line and getting the extracting out the pairs of numbers. So to redefine that task, I'm going to just copy this string for Africa. And then my goal is I want to print out on one line 106 and 107. And then on the next line, print out the 107 and the 111. And so on. I want to do that for every pair of lines. That's what, so I've broken this problem down. The first thing I really need to solve is this. So in Spider here, I've copied that line in here just as a string. And now I can start playing with this. So for example, what is the name? Well, in our specifications, it said that that's the first 15 characters. So does that work? And you can see over here on the right that, yep, I was able to extract out Africa and print it. And how about my numbers? Well, that's the rest of the line. and let's see if we succeeded in printing out all my numbers just as a string. And now there's Africa there, and there's all my numbers. Now we know that each of these numbers is 6 wide. So let's go, my first number should be my numbers up to 6. Oops, and let's print that. And I have a typo there. There we go. So now I've got, I've printed out my numbers and I've printed out the first number. Now, I could print out the second number, but what would be nice to do is, can I write a loop that will print these out? So, so let's stick this in a loop. And we know that this has 7 numbers. Or yeah, 7 numbers that I'm going to be dealing with here. And I can, all right, let's print this out. And of course, what I end up with here is I've just printed the number 106 6 times. But what I'd like to do is start out by printing each of these numbers. And how do I do that? Well, clearly the problem is in my slicing, right? I kept having the same slice. So how do I do this so that my slice changes by 6 each time? And here's the suggestion. Let's have something called start, and I will go from start to start plus 6, grab that number, and then every time through here my start has to increase by 6 so that it goes to the next one. And let's try that out. And now you can see that you know, there's the line of numbers, and what we have done with that line of numbers is we now have taken those and reproduced them down below. So there's the 106 there, and then there's the 107, and then there's the 111, and the 133, and so on. Now I can actually print one of these. So I've given you that much. Now the next trick here is to say, all right, what I want to do is I want to print this with a 106 and a 107, and a 107 and a 111, and a 111 and a 133, and so on. That's what my goal is. All right, and once I have that, then I can do my simple arithmetic and so on. And I've given you a start at doing that. And so take this and now add to this code here so that you can print both numbers in here. And you know, maybe you'll call the other number the second number. And the trick is, you'll notice in here is that what was the second, you know, so we have the first number and the second number. Well, next time around, the first number becomes what was the previous second number, and you know, and so on all the way through it. So that's kind of your clue into how to do this. Do this first. All right. Once you get this working, then you can go about and say, all right, now I can actually start to do this project. And by the way, where does this appear in the project is that it appears in this function right here. The function called, oops, sorry. The function called calc delta. And in fact, here, this hint here is what I just showed you in the slide. And not only that, but you get once you have written this code, we do have a test for it, and that's it right here. Here's the test for to calculate the data, and it takes one line of input, actually takes Antarctica, and then these are all the deltas through there. So that's what your test is. And once you get that part working, the rest of this is quite manageable. So what I've tried to show you today is how to break this problem down into a smaller problem and work on that. You can do this part and get it so you can generate those pairs of numbers. Then you can use those pairs of numbers to do the calc delta function. And once you got that function working, the rest of it sort of falls into line quite nicely. So hopefully that gives you enough to get started. Good luck.